Hi, everyone. My name is Dina Herbert. I'm the coordinator of the Innovation Hub. We're going to get started with our Transcribe-a-thon in about 10 minutes. So welcome. Hello. 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 So again, welcome to the National Archives Innovation Hub and National Archives Foundation Transcribe-a-thon. I'm Dina Herbert. I'm the Innovation Hub Coordinator. And we're going to get started in a couple of minutes. If you have not created a login for the National Archives catalog, you can go ahead and do that by going to catalog.archives.gov/registration. Yes, /registration. And I've posted a link into the Transcribe-a-thon page on the Engage and Discuss platform. And please, if you have any questions about what we're doing and how to transcribe, you can go ahead and make comments in the discussion box. I'll be monitoring that. We're going to get started in about 5 minutes. We're just waiting for our speaker, John Deegan, although I think I see him coming in. And we're really excited that everybody can join us. So if you have questions, let me know. So hi, everybody. Once again, I'm Dina Herbert. I'm the Innovation Hub Coordinator. We are going to get started in a few more minutes. John Deegan, that's who correct, is here. He's one of the archivists. Or is that your title is archivist here at the National Archives. And he's going to talk to us about Revolutionary War records that we have here. So I'm going to switch between a PowerPoint and a video of John, and we're getting started. And we have one person or a few more, and for other people to join us online, and then we'll learn about the records, and then we'll get to transcribing, just something a little different for an Independence Day celebration. Great. So I'm going to do my best. Most of the time when I do this Google, we have some sort of issue, but I'm going to hope that we don't. Oh, I don't know. Where do you want to? Do you want to stand? Do you want to sit?
I'm thinking that.
Okay, I'm just gonna arrange the video semi-correctly since we'll go dark in a few minutes.
Basically, I'm looking at the screen.
Great. A few more minutes to see if other folks join us online or in person.
You say you're going to move the slides?
Yeah, because of the whole screen sharing. If you don't mind, I'm gonna do that. It's still a little early, so we'll give some people a intro, which I'm sure is having trouble. If there are others joining us. So this is your first time transcribing, you said? Great. We'll be able to.
And I'm not terribly computer literate.
That's is pretty easy. Is reading themselves, which is not a computer literacy thing, but more of something else. Okay, and we I've been told that there are about 10 people online. We're gonna give it another just 2 minutes, and then we'll get started. So once again, I'm the coordinator of the Innovation Hub, and I'm joined here by John Deven, who's one of our archivists. It's going to Revolutionary Wars. Planned for the day is that planned for the afternoon is that John is going to talk to us about the Revolutionary War records. If you have questions and you're online, into the discussion online platform for those in the room, you can ask them and I'll repeat them to the platform if anybody's on mute. And then I'm going to show a brief tutorial on how to transcribe and looking at what we have to do to transcribe, and I'll show you how to get a login if you don't have that much, and then we'll get started with transcribing, and we'll be doing it in person and online today until just about 5 o'clock. But the party never stops, and you can take a break from the festivities if you're like me and don't enjoy any bit of heat. You're welcome to come into an air-conditioned space throughout the July 4th weekend and transcribe all of our documents. And I'd like to absolutely thank the National Archives Foundation for their help with this. And we like to say we transcribe here to unlock history. It really allows us to see more of the records in a better way. I think we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to go, sorry, I'm just going to switch screen for a moment. I just find my mouse. This is the hardest part. Oh. And if anybody at any point has questions, issues, problems with the Discuss platform, with the Transcribe-a-thon, please email innovationhub, all one word, at nara.gov, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. So without further ado, I'm going to let John take it away.
Okay, well, as
Oh,
Dean
wait,
said,
hang on. Nope,
okay.
I'm not going to let you take it away.
Oh.
Sorry, I forgot to screen share. I got something, I was halfway there, I'm sorry. This is the problem. Otherwise, they're just going to see me and not you. Excellent. Okay. Okay, we're good to go.
okay. As Dina said, I'm John Deven. I'm one of the archivists in the Archives 1 reference section, and I work with the old military records, or the old Army records, which basically cover not only the Revolutionary War, but up to the beginning of the 20th century, just before World War I. So I have about 20 or so slides. I'm just going to go over some of the basic records that we have relating to the Revolutionary War. The main source that we have for records for the Revolutionary War are in Record Group 93, which is the War Department collection of Revolutionary War records. Most people are probably not aware that in November of 1800, there was a devastating fire in the War Department, which basically wiped out a lot of the military records that they had from the Revolutionary War up until that time. And then a decade or so after that, during the War of 1812, of course, the British occupied Washington and destroyed more records and intentionally disarranged a lot of records. So there really wasn't a lot of evidentiary material that the War Department had relating to the Revolutionary War. And for much of the 19th century, and then in the 1870s, the War Department started a concerted effort to try and collect other sources that were still out there to document the military history of the Revolutionary War. So they purchased records that were held privately. They gathered records together from the other federal agencies that were on hand in their records. So that's basically why the record group is called the War Department Collection. It was brought together from a lot of different sources.
So can I interrupt you for just a moment? So for those online, there might be a bit of a lag between when we move through slides, but please bear with us as we do this. Sometimes Google Hangout on air that broadcasts through the Engage platform, so sometimes there's a bit of a lag, so just things should move just at a slightly different pace.
Okay. So I'm going to go over some of the basic records that we have that document service, military service during the Revolutionary War. And the main source that we have, and I understand you're probably going to be doing some transcribing of some of these records, are the compiled military service records that we have. And again, a lot of people don't know that the compiled service records are not contemporary to the war itself. These were created over 100 years later by the War Department in the 1890s to document service during the Revolutionary War. And the main reason for that is in the 1890s, the War Department, and especially the Record and Pension Office of the War Department, was being inundated with pension applications, mainly from Union veterans after the war, but there were still a few Revolutionary War widows around at that time. In fact, I think the last Revolutionary War widow died in 1906.
Wow.
So you can imagine, it's a very young girl married to a very old man. So they needed a convenient way to document the service of these volunteers so that they could get their pension benefits. So the Record and Pension Office came up with the idea of creating compiled military service records. And what they did was they hired an army of clerks to go through all of the existing records that were available in the War Department, and muster rolls and payrolls and so forth, hospital records, prisoner of war records. And whenever they came across a piece of information about an individual soldier, they would copy it down on a card. And then at the end of the process, you had a series of cards having all this collected information on it, and those cards then became the soldier's compiled service record. So as I said, they started doing this for Union veterans after the Civil War, and then they decided it was such a good idea that they went back and did it for state volunteers, volunteer soldiers in general, for other wars as well. But it's just for the volunteer soldiers, not for soldiers who had served in the regular military, the Army and the cavalry and the artillery, just for state volunteers. So that's why we now have compiled service records for volunteers from the Revolutionary War. And the main thing to remember about the service records that we do have is that they're only available for volunteers who served in either the Continental Army or with state militias that were attached to the Continental Army. Okay, because there were a lot of other state militias that served at maybe a local level in a defensive nature, and they were never attached to the Continental line. So we do not have service records for those soldiers. Only the soldiers who served in the Continental line or state militias attached to the Continental Army.
Sorry, I'm just fixing. I'm trying something different.
Okay. So if you come to the National Archives and you're looking for a specific soldier and you're not finding anything, then that doesn't mean a search is over. You want to go to the state archives of the state where the soldier served to see whether they have additional militia records for those units that we don't have.
I'm sorry, I'm just trying. Okay, give me 1 minute. I'm sorry, I'm just, apparently the slides are not advancing online, so I'm gonna stop screen sharing. I'm gonna try something different. Okay. Nope, they're gonna see it backwards. Okay, we're gonna do our best. I'll make it work. So for those online, we're working on the slide share is not quite working. There seems to be a big lag. So you might see things in mirror, but we're gonna make it worth your while, I promise. Okay, oh nope, we're apparently advancing. Okay, I'm sorry that we're stopping this. We always do a lot of testing and then it never works. And then it works, and then it doesn't work. Okay, share this. Okay, and okay, sorry. Did you want the next slide?
Oh, not yet.
Okay.
So for the service records that we do have, then for both the state militias, we do have comprehensive indexes that are available on microfilm, and there's a complete index, which is microfilm publication M860. Covering all the volunteers who served, and there are additional state indexes for Connecticut, Georgia, and North Carolina. And then we have a separate index, Microfilm Public 79, for veterans of the naval personnel who served in the Revolutionary War. Okay, now we can go. Okay, all of the compiled service records that we have for the Revolutionary War have been microfilmed, and so now they've also been digitized, so you can find them both on Ancestry and on Fold 3. There are two main publications that they've been organized in. Microfilm publication M881, which is a complete publication of all the volunteers that we have for the Revolutionary War, and they include both the Continental troops, both the numbered and named troops, and again those state militias that serve with the Continental Line, and those include the numbered militia regiments as well as the named units. And then there's a separate microfilm publication for compiled service records for American naval personnel in the Revolutionary War, as well as some miscellaneous members from the Department of the Quartermaster General and the Commissary General of Military Stores, who also served during the Revolutionary War. Basic information that you're going to find in the compiled service records is information about the soldier himself, including his name, his dates of enlistment, how long he's joined up for, his residence at the time of enlistment, which may or may not be his place of birth. It all depends. You may get a brief personal description, like his height, his hair color, eye color, complexion, things like that. And there may be some miscellaneous remarks, whatever, depending on what information they found on the muster rolls and payrolls that they extracted this information from. So if he was in a skirmish, he was wounded or killed in action, there should be a notation about that on the service record. If he was sick in hospital, wounded, or suffering from some kind of illness, there'd be information about that on the service record. Any details for special duty, or if he was taken prisoner, there may be some prisoner of war information on there as well.
Next one. Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to show you some examples of what the carded service records are going to look like. The information that's on this, the picture that's on the screen now, is actually the envelope or the jacket that the compiled service record is kept in, and it usually gives you basic information about the soldier, including his name, his unit, the war, and then you'll see two ranks listed. And the first rank on the left is the rank that he held going into service, and the second rank is what he held when he was discharged. So the example is showing a jacket for a soldier named William Graham, who served in the 1st Massachusetts Regiment, and he enlisted as a corporal, and he was discharged as a corporal at the end of his service. You also see a lot of handwritten numbers in the middle of the jacket there, under the heading of card numbers. A lot of folks think that these are file numbers that may lead you to additional records, but actually they're not. Each one of those numbers is stamped on the back of one of the cards inside the jacket. So this was a 19th century record-keeping practice to make sure that the correct cards were filed in the right jacket. It doesn't lead you to any other additional information. However, if you go down to the bottom of the jacket, on the line that says bookmark, if you see any handwritten file notations down there, in this case for William Graham, there's an RMP file number, 436789. RMP stands for Record and Pension Office. If you see a file number down there, that can lead you to additional information. So if you find something like that, and you're here on site at the National Archives, you want to bring that information over to the consultation room, and the archivist there can decipher it for you, and we can figure out which series of records those file numbers belong to, and then you can pull the original file.
Ready?
Mm-hmm. And then here's some examples of what the cards look like that are inside the jacket. And again, these are information that was extracted from different records that were held by the War Department. In this case, there's an example of a card of information taken from a company payroll in the center card, and the card on the right is the information from a company muster roll. And it gives you different information. There's some graphics on this.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. There we go.
Okay, so sometimes you'll see some different spelling of the soldier, and you're doing transcription of these records. You need to keep note of the different variations in spelling, because there were no spelling conventions at this time. A lot of people just spelled names the way they sounded phonetically, and there's really no right or wrong variations. So you'll see different spellings of the soldier. It's still the same soldier. The one card gives you more specific information about the soldier's unit. Now we have identified his company. Here is a member of Captain Abraham Hunt's company, and it also identifies the unit as the 1st Massachusetts Battalion of Forces, whereas the jacket identified it as the 1st Massachusetts Regiment. It's still the same unit. It just goes by different names depending on which source they pulled the information from. Okay. And then it gives you his enlistment information here. In this case, he joined the unit in January 26th of 1776, and he signed up for 3 years of service. I think that's it for the next slide.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you see other variations in information. For example, there's some more graphics on here. The card on the left shows you that he was serving as a corporal in June of 1778. But if we move to the card in the right, one more.
Nope. Nope.
I'm used to doing this.
You can do it. If you want to do it yourself, you can now press return, since
Okay.
I'm not switching through the screens because
Okay.
testing
So
doesn't work.
You'll see in the center card now, he's a private in May of 1779. So something happened where he lost his rank. What it is, however, we don't know, because the original record that the information was taken from, didn't specify what happened. But if you look further ahead then to another payroll from November, December of 1779, he's back as a corporal again. So he was able to get his rank back. So again, these are different kinds of information that you can find relating to these soldiers and in the compiled service records.
It just return goes to the next one. Or yeah.
Okay. We also have the original muster rolls and payrolls that the compiled service records are based on. And again, these have been microfilmed in publication M246, Revolutionary War Rolls. And they've also been, since they're on microfilm, they've also been digitized. So you can also find these on fold 3. And again, these are the regimental muster rolls for both the Continental regiments and the state militias that served with the Continental line. They're arranged by state or by Continental unit. And then again, they include the muster rolls, payrolls, and other types of returns that were kept on hand while the units were operating in the field. So they provide basic information about the identities of the soldiers that served in those units, the number and condition of the units and the companies, and the different equipment that was issued to them, and so forth. So there's a nice example to show you of what one of these looks like.
Hang on
Sure.
1 second. I apologize for those online. It looks like the slides are not advancing the way that we want them to, which is what always seems to happen. Okay, let's see. Let me just try something. Sorry, we did lots of testing, and I crossed my fingers that it would work, and then it didn't work. Okay, what we're gonna do, and I apologize that this is what we're gonna have to do, but I think we're just gonna keep it like this. Is this okay? We're gonna keep it, we're not gonna move through a fancy slideshow, because I think the slide advancing seems to be the problem. So let me, okay. So, and I'm working on getting William Graham's CMSR for the transcription list. So for those online, we're just gonna keep it this way, so you'll see most of the screen should be this. So I apologize.
There shouldn't be any other animation.
Okay, that's good.
That was one of the examples.
So I apologize. Again, I did lots of testing, and we tried.
Okay, so anyway, here's an example of what these handwritten muster rolls look like, and they're really kind of cool. It gives you, again, a listing of all the officers and then the enlisted men, and these are done on a monthly basis. This example is from Captain Thomas Booth's company of the 5th Pennsylvania Regiment, and this is one of my favorite examples, because if you can see on the, let's see, the 1, 2, the 3rd column of names at the top where it says
Here?
Drummond, further over where it says Drummond Fife.
There we go.
Yeah, if you see the name Adam Deal, drummer, that's my ancestor. That's my 5th great grandfather. He was a drummer boy. I don't know, 16 years old at the time.
Did you want the next one?
Sure.
Okay.
This is the backside of the muster roll, and again, it just gives you a statistical summary of the information that was presented or collected during the monthly muster roll. Okay. The other main source or record that we have for the Revolutionary War that documents the service of the soldiers, of course, are the pension files. And now we're dealing with records that are located in Record Group 15, which are the records of the Department of Veterans Affairs. All of the Revolutionary War pension files that we have been reproduced on microfilm, and so of course now again they've also been digitized. There are two different publications. There's microfilm publication M804, which are the Revolutionary War pension and bounty land application files. These are the complete files, everything that's in the file. Okay, whether it's important or whether it's administrative minutia, it's all in the file. Then there's a second publication that was put together mainly for genealogy purposes, and this is M805, which are selected records of the Revolutionary War pension and bounty land application. So these only include those records that were deemed by NARA staff to contain most important information about the soldier, about his service, and about his family. Okay, so if you're looking at M804 with the complete file, you're going to see that most of the pension files are divided into two parts. There, you start with the selected records, and then once you get through those, then there are the non-selected records. Okay, but the other publication, M805, only has the selected records. And as I said, these have been digitized, so you can find the complete files in M804 on Ancestry and Fold 3, and then the selected files are on Heritage Quest.
I think we just use the down arrow.
Okay. The basic information that you'll find in these pension files include the name of the soldier, his enlistment information, how long he served, more detailed information about the units that he served in, and then information about him after the war, where he was residing, if he was injured in any way. There'll be some medical history, especially injuries that were related to his service. And there'll be information about his death. And then if his widow or dependents applied for benefits after his death, then there'll be information about them as well. And sometimes the widow's applications are of even more importance than the soldier's pension file, because the widows at that time, they had to prove their relationship to the soldier in order to be approved for the pensions. So a lot of times where they sent in original records documenting their marriages and their children, a lot of these widows sent in their original marriage certificates that they'd gotten from the pastor who married them, or they'd taken a page out of the family Bible that had documented their weddings and the births of all their children. So original Bible records. They had no idea when they sent this material into the War Department that they were never going to get it back. Because once they submitted it, it became evidence in a federal case file. So now it became property of the federal government. And it's interesting because before these records came to the National Archives, they were held by the Library of Congress. And in the 1920s and early 20th century, you find in these files a lot of 20th century letters and documents of family members writing into the Library of Congress, asking for information, looking for these original records, and sometimes they're asking for them back. And of course, they didn't get them back. But those inquiries, those 20th century inquiries, were added to the file. Okay, so you find more contemporary records in there as well. Okay.
But, yeah. Okay.
So we'll take a look now at William, as an example, we'll take a look at William Graham's pension. And the image that's on the screen now is the envelope that contains his pension file. And it's got some basic information there, as well as his name, his widow's name, Mary. You see, it identifies that he served in from both Massachusetts and New Hampshire during the Revolutionary War. And then the number on the right-hand corner is the pension file number. Okay. William Graham applied for a pension after the war under the Pension Act of March 1818. This was the first pension act which approved pension benefits for veterans of the Revolutionary War for just having served in the war. They didn't have to, before, you had to have some disability or some physical injury to qualify for a pension, but now for the first time in 1818, the federal government granted these veterans pensions for just having served their country. So he applied in 1818 and got his pension. This particular act, this is the declaration that he filled out to apply for the pension, and here's where you get a lot of good information about the soldier and his service. He applied on April 21st, 1818, when he was 62 years old. He indicated that at the time he was living in Hadley, New York, in Saratoga County. And then he gives an overview of his military service, saying that he served in Captain Abraham's company of the 1st Massachusetts Regiment in 1777 for a period of 3 years. He also indicates that he fought at the Battle of Bunker Hill under Captain William Scott of the New Hampshire line. Okay. But in the course of writing out his affidavit here, he indicates that he lost his original discharge papers somewhere along the line after he left the military. So as evidence of his service, the handwritten paragraph in the middle of the document there, he includes a statement from Lewis Scott, who was the son of his commander at Bunker Hill. And Lewis Scott basically says, yes, I remember my father and William Graham sitting around the fire in their old age, telling war stories. So that was the evidence that he used to verify that he served during the Revolutionary War.
And that was considered enough?
That was considered enough because he got the pension.
Huh.
Yeah. For this particular Pension Act of 1818, he also had to prove or verify that he had a financial need for a pension. So he also included this inventory of property, such as it is. I think the real intent of this inventory was to prove that he really didn't have much of anything, and so he was in financial need of some federal assistance. The inventory shows that he owned no real property. He has a list of personal property, which is pretty meager. Among other things, it shows that he had 2 hogs that are worth $5. He owned a shovel or a spade that was worth 25 cents, a tea kettle that was valued at 75 cents. Somewhere else on the list, there's another broken tea kettle that's worth even less than that. But then he also gives some more information about himself and his family. He indicates that he was a basket maker by trade, but now in his old age, he's 64 years old now, he's unable to work due to illness and age and so forth. And he also indicates that his wife is unable to work because of her age. And he also indicates that he has an adult daughter, age 30. He doesn't name who it is, but he has an adult daughter who's lame and subject to frequent fits. So he has an additional burden to bear, if you will, and a family member that needs care. So again, he's laying on the case that he needs financial assistance to get along. And he specifically states that without a federal pension, he'd have to probably end up relying on private or public charity to make his way in life. So, oops.
No, oh.
There. So William Graham then died in 1824. His wife Mary was finally able to apply for a pension under the Act of July 4th, 1836. So Revolutionary War widows had to wait until 1836 to become eligible to apply for pension based on the service of their husbands. Prior to that, they couldn't apply for one. So this is her pension certificate after she applied. She filed for a pension in 1837, just shortly after the act was passed, and she was 86 years old at the time. So she had to wait that long in order to qualify for a widow's pension during the war. So in her declaration for pension, she provides a copy of William Graham's affidavit from 1820. And again, it details his service in the Revolutionary War, and he lists his service with Captain Scott in the New Hampshire line, Abraham Hunt's company in the 1st Massachusetts Regiment. He also mentions some additional service in Captain John Miller or John Mills Company and Captain Timothy Remick's company. So that's all outlined in her affidavit. So she did get her pension, but then Mary died not too long after that on June 10th, 1838. So she maybe collected her pension for maybe a year, or maybe not even a year. So the pension file then includes a statement about her death that was turned in to the War Department by her children. And the statement does include, it names her surviving heirs, which were 2 daughters at that time, Lucinda Eggleston, who was married to Amos Eggleston, living, and Nancy Clayton, married to Farmer Clayton, living in Fulton County, New York. So there's more information that you can find from the pension file. Okay, and then finally, I just wanted to wrap things up, a general discussion about the Revolutionary War records that we have. Of course, we have to mention the papers of the Continental Congress, which is probably the center of all the Revolutionary War records that we have. The papers of the Continental Congress that we have, they're part of Record Group 360, which are the records of the Continental and Confederation Congresses and the Constitutional Convention of 1787. All the papers that we have, they're reproduced on microfilm in 2 different publications. Microfilm publication M247 are the official papers of the Continental Congress that we have, that were arranged and put into numbered items and bound volumes. That was actually done in 1834 by the War Department. So those are reproduced on M247. After that was done, then there are also a separate publication of miscellaneous papers of the Continental Congress. And these were records that were not part of the numbered items that were at a time where may have been overlooked, or were misplaced, or were in private hands. But they later came together through the War Department. And those were microfilmed as well. And of course, as I've been saying all along, since the records have been microfilmed, now they've also been digitized. So you can find all these records on Fold 3. And the papers of the Continental Congress, I mean, it covers pretty much all aspects of the war, from the military to the diplomatic and so forth. So probably the best way to get into these papers is through the indexes that we have. At least here on site, in our finding age room, we have a published 5-volume index to the papers of the Continental Congress, which is extremely thorough. It's a name and subject index, and under each heading, it provides an entry for every single document that appears in the papers, okay? And it gives you a specific citation of how to find those records, including the publication number, the item number, the volume number, and then the page number where the document resides within those volumes. So it's a very specific index, and it's probably the best way to get into those papers. Okay.
Most of them, unfortunately, a lot of what we have online for the Continental Congress has been transcribed. People, quickly ate those up. But I found some, so you will have an opportunity to, transcribe some of those documents.
Okay,
later.
That's pretty much the overview. If
Great.
anybody has any additional questions.
So for the people in the room, please ask your question. If anybody is online, please feel free to chat in your question onto the Transcribe-a-thon discuss page, and we'll try to get it answered.
Any burning questions?
Anybody online, or you can try to tweet them in with the archives July 4th hashtag, and I can also try to answer that. Let's see, are there any online? So I have a question, John, about what people were sending in for the pension files. You said that many people were sending in, marriage certificates and other personal documents. I guess we have a lot of these fractors, those colorful, family history. So I'm guessing those were sent in to prove, and then unfortunately these people never got them back. Correct?
Exactly. Yeah. The Pennsylvania German fractors that are found in a lot of the pension, those are basically baptismal. And they were created by the Pennsylvania Germans. And again, it's their original record of the baptism of a specific family. Or sometimes it's just a family tree showing the marriage of the parents and then the births of the children. The different fractors, they come in different shapes and sizes, and the information will be their baptismal records. So yes, they, in the course of trying to verify this information for the War Department, these families sent these fractors in to prove the information that they were submitting, but then they had no idea that they weren't going to get them back.
So there was a question from somebody online. Jean Samuel said, proof of a pension and a long wait. How did they compile the ongoing records, or must a widow start over? or start over?
At least most of the files that I've seen, the file is a compilation. So once you open a claim, even if it's rejected the first time, the next time Congress passes a new pension law, you were eligible to reapply again. So all that paperwork went into it's still considered an open file, went into the existing filer or his widow. Basically, the files weren't considered closed until the claimant or their immediate heirs were finally deceased, and then it was closed or declared inactive.
I have another question. This is something I've never feel like I should know this as an archive staff member, and I don't. Do family members then down the line has anybody asked for their I'm sure people have asked for, this was my great-great-great-grandfather's or family Bible. Can I get it? There's no at this point.
Right. Yeah, and I mentioned that earlier.
You did, and I was trying to.
Yeah, with some of the contemporary 20th century letters that you can find in some of these pension files, folks writing into the Library of Congress, and some of them were they could have their family documents back, and of course they.
Yes, that makes sense. You did say that. Now I remember you saying this, and I was trying to get get everything working. So. Any other core online? Something just came in. Nope. Jean says thank you. So if there are any other questions, we're going to move on. For those who have asked questions about how to transcribe, I'll go through that in just a few minutes. But if there are other questions for John, now would be a great time. In the meantime, I will say thank you, John, and I apologize again for the sort of back and forth with the PowerPoint. But this was really interesting and fascinating, and sort of we don't always hear about, it's neat to have, one of your members finding their records in here. That's really, really cool. Any other questions? Last time, questions online for John. But if you think of something later, I can maybe email him while he's, back at his desk. I'll be moderating this for a little bit longer. Well, thank you.
My mother's family is full of William Grahams.
Oh, really?
All from Massachusetts, all the way back to the mid-1700s.
Oh, wow. Well, that William Graham happened to be a relative of one of our staff members who retired recently, so that's why he's a popular example.
No, it's a popular name, too. Very well.
Great. Well, thank you, John.
All right.
So thank you. Oh, sure. Sorry, I'm trying to. Okay. So wonderful. So we're gonna move on. So again, everyone, I'm Dina Herbert. I'm the Innovation Hub Coordinator, and I am going to try something. Okay, I'm going to show you about how to transcribe. And for those in the room, you can see on the big screen. And now I'm going to try, oops, sorry. It's like a mirrored image. It's an extension. And so I'm going to screen share, and this should work. Hang on. Okay. Let me just see. I am. Okay, I think I should be okay. Yes, okay. So what we're going to do for transcribing, and for those online, please feel free to ask your question. Unfortunately, not going to get to them immediately, just because I'm going to be trying to show you how to transcribe. So please feel free to chat in your questions if you are online, and I will answer them as quickly as I can. So what we are doing is, so the reason we transcribe is we say it unlocks history. We have so many records in this building, and well, throughout the National Archives, not just in this building, that there's just so many words within the records, and we can't we don't have the ability right now or the technology to make every word machine readable. We do make PDFs of many of our documents, and many PDF things are a lot of the PDFs are done through OCR, optical character recognition, which allows for some of the typed material to be machine readable, but it's not 100%. And it also not only is it not 100% for older documents, for older typed material, it's very difficult to make that good machine readable. So even typed documents, people think transcription is only for handwriting, but even documents that are typed or even PDFs themselves, the more we have in our catalog, the better. And every gets crawled. So if you're doing a search now for William Graham, let's say from John's example, it'll pull up if William Graham is mentioned, let's say, and it's somebody else's pension file, his name will be brought up when we transcribe it or if we tag it. So the first thing to do, and if you don't have a login to the catalog, there'll be plenty of time to do that. You're going to go, if you do have a login, if you do not have a login, so you select this menu on the top, and your catalog screen at catalog.archives.gov, maybe a different picture. We sort of cycle. You can go select register and you can create a username. It's free, it's easy to do. I have a username, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit login, or again, if you go to the menu, you're gonna log in. And then I'm gonna put my username in. Oh. If I did my password, yes. Okay, so again, new image. So on our menu drop down, we have a few different things we can look at. So I'm a staff member, and we have all of our staff members have staff next to their names, so we're being transparent of who's tagging and transcribing and doing what. And again, there might be a bit of a lag between what I'm talking about and what you see on the screen, but I'll try not to move too fast if there is a lag. So you can, if you select your name, you can see all of the things you've contributed. You can see all of the tags you've done, which I'll talk about, all of the transcriptions you've done, made in our catalog. And this is also, you can go back and forth and see if you start something today and you want to take a break, and then, especially for handwriting things, is this an S, is this an O, is this an E? Sometimes the more you do, the better you get. So you can go back now and say, oh, I did this one a couple weeks ago. I now think that these are S's. And you can go back and select what you've done. You can see other work, what other people have done. But I'm going to go ahead and search. So I happen to know the National Archives ID of something, which is the unique identifier for many of our documents and records online. So this is a compiled military service record, so like some of the stuff John was talking about, but this is 1812. It's from Henry Fitz-Allen, who was actually a woman. I don't remember her name off the top of my head, but she was a woman who served as a man during the Civil War. And we know that there were several women who served dressed as men during the Civil War and even during the Revolutionary War. Minutes. Okay, hopefully, sorry. Sometimes our catalog takes a few minutes. And, let's see. There we go. Okay, so when you search for a record, and on the chat, for those online, on the Transcribe-a-thon page, there are a whole list of documents to transcribe for today's event. For those in the room, if you don't have it, I'll figure out a way to get it to you, and I'll also tell you another way to find the documents that we have earmarked just for this event today. But there are hundreds of thousands of documents online, all of, many of which need transcription or more, more information. So this is what you'll see when you pull up a record. It's actually something that we scanned here in the Innovation Hub. In the Innovation Hub here downtown, we have which is where we're located for this Transcribe-a-thon. We have citizen and scanning, where you can scan for documents for free. And I'm happy to talk about that more later, but you can bring in certain documents here, scan them, you can immediately take a copy home of the images, and then we upload a copy giving you credit. So this is something that I scanned a few months ago with a colleague of mine, Jeannie Chen, during a Wikipedia edit-a-thon that we hosted about women who served as men during the Civil War. So what you're going to see when you open up a record on our document is on the left-hand side, you can tag, and you can get involved if you're nervous about transcribing, if you don't know where to start, if something has already been transcribed but you want to add more. Tagging keywords are a great way for our catalog, for you to put your mark on our catalog. For other people, if you search Civil War now, this document is going to come up. You could even put, I'm trying to think of something that's not, I had something and did I write it down? Nope, I'm going to put in CMSR, which is sort of the nickname for compiled military service records. So now if you search CMSR, it's going to show this. And you can do tags on an entire document, or you can do them on individual pages. So you can see that there's some tags. And now if you notice, some of our records will have these little blue flags. Some of the pages will not. A little blue flag means that it's transcribed or tagged. It doesn't mean that the transcription is complete. It doesn't mean that it is transcribed or it is tagged. Right now, there's no way of differentiating between something that's tagged and transcribed. I know in later versions of the catalog, we're hoping to have that. But we like to say we also use the Wikipedia model for transcription. You can always go back and retranscribe. You can always, if people might leave things as illegible and you have a real keen eye for certain signatures, handwriting, typed documents, etc., you can always go back and edit people's work. And we ask that you don't, delete somebody else's work by any means, but we do ask, you can make our records better. So if you select it, you can either select that little blue thing and you can see I've put a tag that this is an envelope, and I've started to, and I actually did this transcription of this page. But here you can zoom in and you can see the images get really crisp. And it's a very similar CMSR envelope that you'll find in some of the Revolutionary War documents. And you can scroll this. I'm using my mouse to scroll right now, but we also have a little, here you can zoom in and out by using these magnifying glasses. You can move up and down by using the arrow keys. If you'd like, for your own purposes, you can always download the image, and you can also make things full screen. Nope, that goes back, I'm sorry, that unzooms. So I'm gonna close and show you the other way to do it. So you can also, scroll through to get different images. So this page, I know page 3 is not tagged or transcribed because there's no little blue arrow. So we're gonna transcribe it right now. And the other way to do it is you're gonna select View Add Contributions. Again, we're gonna zoom in and we can see, I'm going to go ahead and transcribe since that's what we're focusing on today, but you can always add tags, and you just put your cursor in this big empty box here, you select it, and you just start transcribing. So it's fits all in, Henry, and I select enter, and there are a couple of lines, comma, Cody, comma, and what we say, if you see that I wrote CO period B, we say transcribe exactly what you see on the page. Chances are this is company B, but this is the abbreviation for company. And the next after, it's company B, comma, 20, I'll go ahead and transcribe it, 23 REG apostrophe T. And that is regiment. That's most likely regiment, but we're not typing in regiment. We're typing exactly what we see. You can, anything you don't know what you're looking at, what you see, you can always use brackets and say regiment in brackets. But we ask that you type exactly what you see. If there's spelling errors, especially some of the older names, you'll see, WM for William. We ask you to type in WM, and you can use brackets to do William. If you don't know, so now I'm not sure. I think this is probably KY. I'm assuming it's infantry. I'm not sure. Let's say I don't know what it is. I can type in illegible. Did I spell that correctly? Yes, I did. I can type in illegible, or I could even type in question mark. And this, again, is why we ask, why our records are kept open. If somebody comes in later and says, this is probably infantry, they can edit and they can put in INF for infantry. And then maybe they're going to do infantry. Now you can all find out that I'm terrible, that I'm very bad at spelling. I'm going to just stick with it. And now you all know that I'm an awful speller. Anyway, you can continue to go, and if there's more further down, you can scroll and so on. And I'll finish this another time, but I'm going to go ahead and hit save. We do recommend that you save often. The internet is a funny thing. You can easily lose your work, especially if we're working on a long document. We really recommend that you save. And let's say you're done with this. You want to go on to the next page. You would just select the next arrow. Or, well, now it's taking a long time. The internet is a funny thing. You can also type in this box, which is now a little shadowed. You can type in, that you want to jump to image number 10 or something. Just a few other things about, let's see. Okay, well, hopefully our internet is in our catalogs. We had some issues this morning. So hopefully work with us today. But again, all of these records are available for, there we go. So this is image number 4. If you want to zoom in to image number 10, you can also type them in, type the number in there, and the image will pop up. When you're all done, you hit close, back to results. On the page, on the Transcribe-a-thon page, we have lots of documents that we and I have pulled out lots of different kinds of documents, and there are 3 different levels. There's beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So really, this is a time to sort of challenge yourself. If you are really not sure about documents that are handwritten, I'm lazy when I transcribe. I really like transcribing typed documents because it's important and it's easy. But I'm really going to push myself today and do some handwritten documents. So you might want to try couple beginner, couple intermediate, couple advanced. The one drawback right now to our system, which isn't a drawback, but it can definitely help us, if 2 people can't be in the same record at the same time. So, excuse me, can't be on the same page at the same time. So if this is 15 pages. If I am transcribing page number 1, sitting next to me or sitting in California doing the transcription can't also be transcribing page number 1. He can be transcribing page number 5, and I can be transcribing, something went wrong. I can be transcribing page number 1, but we both can't be on page number 1 at the same time. So if somebody is on that page, it will lock you out. And now you can see, so I've added some transcriptions onto page 3. You can see now I have a little blue tag over there. So something has been done. Again, you can go back and see, is it all done? Can I add anything? And this is an opportunity for us to also be social. That's why we like doing these Transcribe-a-thons. It sort of makes us think a little bit differently. For those in the room and those online, we can chat through it together. You can chat into the chat. I'm working on this document. I'm really having trouble. Maybe somebody else can take a look at it. You can tweet it in. We're here till 5 o'clock DC time when the building closes, and you can also leave comments after. We encourage you to leave comments on stuff. Maybe you'll find some of your ancestors' information. For anybody who has family that fought in the Revolutionary War. help each other online, in person for those here. I'm just going through my notes to see if, and again, we do remind you, just keep saving. And yes, so just again about what you see on the page and how to transcribe. We ask you to transcribe what you see on the page. You don't necessarily have to worry about carriage returns, you know, at the end of a line, if it's a long letter, do you, you know, put it in a new line when you're transcribing? Sometimes some people like following the line breaks on the line, a long string, and, you know, enter when it's a new paragraph. If something is abbreviated or spelled incorrectly, use the spelling that you see on, use brackets if you don't understand, if you know, aren't sure. If it's a signature and it's totally illegible, I often will put in brackets signature. Capitalize if there's, we ask you to do punctuation. So if there's a comma, go ahead and throw a comma in. And if you want to do, you know, if you're not, you know, this is your own. This is why we use the Wikipedia model of, you know, everybody can edit each other's work, because we want you to, you know, feel like you can put your own stamp on it, on your transcriptions. So I'm done with this. Are there any, I'm done with my spiel. Are there any questions in the room, online? I'm now going to move over. I'm going to stop screen sharing and you'll have to look at me. Okay. Are there any online? Feel free, and those in the room, if there are any questions, please feel free to ask. Google Hangout is, I'll keep the Hangout on for another 5-10 minutes, and then I'll probably close the Hangout down, and you're very welcome to continue. I'm going to be moderating the chat. We're going to be here till 5, so feel free to send in any questions. If anybody is having trouble online, you can email me, email me innovationhub, all one word, at nara.gov, or you can tweet at #archivesjuly4. I'm monitoring on Twitter under Dina Herbert, and I do want to also just remember to thank the Archives Foundation for helping put this together and support. And yeah, if there are questions in the room.
I can't get past getting into this.
That's okay. I will help you in just a moment.
Thank you.
Deb, you mean, okay, I will help you in just a moment. Okay, so. Any other questions from you guys? Nope, okay. So, there's the full list of documents. Do you all have the documents?
Yep.
Okay. Send an email to Archives InnovHub. Nope. Archives InnovHub is our Twitter hashtag for the Innovation Hub. innovationhub@nara.gov, and I will send you a link for the full list. And we will also have, I will send out a link. We will also have a transcript. Okay, so there is, or question on our Citizen Archivist page. My goodness, we should not do this on a Friday afternoon. Okay, there was a question on the discussion, and I will answer that. But if there's text on the same line, but in different columns, how do we transcribe that? Or is the text on the same line? Okay, so transcribe. So, you know, if there are columns, I usually do like one column with spaces in between, but not always. You can use, oh, shoot. You can use, just say, right, column. So, Maria, if you're watching, I did just answer, and it should come up on the chat. I am going to I'm gonna just send the two of you this link. innovationhub@nara.gov. Okay, two people did email me for the link, and I did just send that out. So I'm going to keep the Google Hangout on for another few minutes, and then I'm going to go dark on the Hangout. But again, please feel free to ask questions. Let me come over and help you. Okay, so do you have a login?
Oh,
I'll
there
let
it
you
is.
drive. Okay, so that's what you need. So you're going to go to menu.
Yeah, I tried. I got nothing. So, oh, there it is.
Yeah, it's something you have to click, and you're gonna. You probably need to register.
Yeah, I'm sure I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think try the not
Not
registered.
registered yet. Okay, got it. Okay, so just do
Yeah. I think your username can't be your.
that. Okay.
Just so you know, I think you can't have the @ symbol or something.
All right. Then that's why it looked
You-
funny.
yeah.
There's no. So does it matter?
You can make your username whatever you want as long as it's not already used by somebody. Like mine is just Dina. I got lucky.
Okay. Okay. These passwords.
I know. I'm pretty glad. I'm pretty impressed with myself that I was able to remember my password the first time around. I usually don't. I always add like extra numbers in. It's been really slow, of course you're having some today. I would try using NARA Selfie 1. You're not on that one.
Yes.
That one we've been having a little bit more luck with. I should have said that for this.
Okay, there we go. Okay, go back or let me see if I got the.
Yeah, you will need to verify the
Okay.
account.
Got it. Okay. There's that on that.
And there are a couple Continental Congress. I was really impressed. I thought like all of the George Washington things would be transcribed, but I found a few.
So now where?
I'll
go back to.
I think login.
Okay. Username. Okay. Let's try this one.
Probably didn't have space in your user.
No, I didn't. I didn't have a
It's not.
space, and it was not taking that or the password.
Okay, hang on. Let's go back to
Yeah.
Oh, you might have to click. Yeah, I don't know if you probably have to click on the link below.
maybe.
Yeah, I think you have to go through like it because we don't
It's
want
not just to
robots.
open it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So now you can log in. I think they have the second one in so that robots can't just create all the usernames. Okay, so you're in.
Now you sent
And I
me.
think I sent you
You sent me
the list of all documents.
this one. What happened to my email? There it is. Let's go back there. Okay. This is the part that's hard. I can read the documents.
That's better than me. So
Okay.
you're gonna select the.
Okay.
So that's what this is the documents that are just earmarked for
Paper
today.
person.
It's okay. I print out all my emails and I still take notes on paper.
Okay.
Okay. So now you can just go ahead and start selecting documents. Pull them up on the catalog.
That's pretty cool. And I can do this from home too.
You can do this. So you can do these from home. We also, if you go into Citizen Archivist, and I'll happy to email it to you. We have a transcription mission of all of these. So, and lots of other transcription sort of topical documents. We have a bunch of other. We just scanned in the Innovation Hub a bunch of the House Un-American Committee, the HUAC committee meeting notes. We have about 100 pages. You can transcribe those. We have lots of fun stuff. Like in Archivist, I think it's archives.gov/citizen-archivist. You can we have transcription missions featured documents. Cool. So yeah, we have something like 12 million records.
Amazing.
Scanned. Okay, I've got some new comments. Let's see.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, so for those online, that we got 2 more questions in. I'm going to go right now. I'm going to go ahead and end the video broadcast since we're just transcribing, and you don't need to look at an empty or welcome to the innovation. Thank you everybody for joining us on the Google Hangout. We're going to still transcribe. We're not done. Keep chatting into the Engage platform. So I'm going to sign off for now.